Hey everybody, welcome back to some more early morning barking, talking about BPD and NPD by somebody that has both. I was thinking about this from the point of view of narcissism, right? But it's that kind of like, at what point when you're a narcissist, where is the borderline between sort of being a narcissist and I'm suffering from cluster B and I need help, etc., etc. Where is the line between that and I'm just not a very pleasant individual? I'm just somebody who treats people badly, etc., etc., and maybe fobs off doing that on all this stuff over here. Because I think that there is a point when you reach that. And I mean, I was thinking about it from the point of view of NPD, but I mean, look, all these cluster B personality disorders have destructive behaviors and toxic traits and that sort of thing. So, you know, really, let's just apply it to whatever you want to apply it to. I think it works for a lot in BPD as well, right? So where is that line? Because what we're talking about is really taking responsibility for the way we are, which I have mixed feelings about, right? Of course, we need to take responsibility for the way we are. However, a lot of the time, especially if we're sort of untreated, then we can't stop how we are. We can't not behave in that way. And we don't necessarily know that what we're doing is wrong. So how responsible for that are we? And I think in trying to justify that for myself, you go in search of the line. Where is this line of, now you definitely, indisputably, have to take responsibility. I had an abortion metaphor for this, which didn't work very well. We're not doing that one. But at what line in a personality disorder do you have to take responsibility for your actions? Like, indisputably. Like, no one's going to say, like, oh no, you might be poorly, but you did that. You know. And for me, the line is self-awareness. That's the line. If you can say, I'm a narcissist, then you've crossed the line. Make sense? At that point, because look, we know everything, especially narcissism, boils down to fear, shame, or guilt. That's it. They're your three motivations for absolutely everything in NPD. And once you're aware of that, and you start becoming aware of what you do, and that sort of thing, then you are wholly, totally responsible for not doing those things. That's where I sit with it, right? If I am horrible to someone now, I don't get to fob it off on the narcissism. I don't get to say, oops, well, NPD, you know? I don't get to do that anymore because I know what all my toxic traits are. I know all the things that I do that hurt people, and I know what is right and what is wrong, and that I have this sort of loose moral flexibility to live with and that sort of thing. But still, if I cross the line and do something, that's on me now, right? I get no free pass anymore. In the same way that, you know, if I'm destructive in my relationships or whatever, and with BPD related things, then, you know, the same applies. I know what I do now, so I'm not allowed to keep doing it. While I was recording that, my computer did a screen off thing. This computer is driving me nuts, by the way. I've lost my train of thought because of Windows 11. Think on that. This needs to be a Mac. Anyway. Don't write in. You're gonna write in, aren't you? Don't. Lost my train of thought. So we have to take responsibility for our actions, right? And that's the line. I see a lot of people not doing that. And look, at a certain point, you have to say, and this is kind of where, look, does this play into relationships with people with cluster B personality disorders? Kinda, yeah. Because a question I get asked a lot is like, how much of this am I supposed to put up with? At what point do I go? At what point do I say, do you know what? I can't live with you being in this way anymore. It's hurting me now. Because lots of people get into relationships with people with cluster B personality disorders and they love them very much and they don't want to go. But we have toxic behaviors that hurt them. And again, those people, they ask, you know, when should I give up? And I can't say when to give up, but I can sort of say when I would give up. And I would give up at that using the thing to justify behavior. Like that line of being self-aware and saying, well, I do that. I've got borderline, whatever. You know, at that point, because that to me, it says something of an acceptance in that person, right? It's, I'm not gonna get better. I do this. I accept that I do this. I have these behaviors. I accept them. I take them on board. I'm going to live with them and make them part of me. I'm not going to do anything about them. So why should you put up with that? Because I think in relationship terms, if you're with someone who has to take responsibility and isn't, then, you know, just leave them to it. You know, you need to see change. I've always said that. You need to see change or progress or an attempt to change or progress. But this just, oh, I do that. That's not change. That is sitting in it and loving it. And especially if it's some toxic behavior that we have behind it, that we're using it to justify. Yeah, get away from those people. Don't listen to these people. Don't be caught up in their web of lies and other crap. Just leave them, I think. Because I think that's where, you know, that's where your true personality comes out. Where it's this, you know, are you the kind of person that when you discovers you've been treating people badly is shocked and appalled and upset by that? Or do you go, okay. That's a question to ask yourself, isn't it? Like, because I remember, like, the hardest part of therapy wasn't talking about trauma. Not for me. Look, and I know that some people have got some trauma that makes me shudder when I hear about it. So I know trauma can be very difficult to talk about. I didn't have that problem. The biggest, most painful part of therapy for me was finding out the harm that I'd done and not wanting to repeat further harm. That was because I want to be a good person. I am inherently good, I like to think. And so when I found out I'd been hurting people I cared about, I was shocked and appalled and horrified and upset and distressed and didn't want to do it anymore. But I get the feeling that some people just think, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I did that. And they kind of find out that they can go on doing that and justifying it by saying, oh, I have that. So I think that's the line. Let me know where you feel that line may be, because I think you might agree with me. I feel like that's a good place to put the line, right? Where do we start taking some responsibility? I've drawn the line. Thank you for watching me, everybody. I hope you made it this far. Write comments, hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, go follow me on Patreon and stuff like that. Words failed me then. I don't know what I was going to say, but it's the end. No one's watching now. I will see you later. Goodbye.